Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Tanzil Mirza. Today we'll see how to use JSON server with React application. We'll see CRUD operations using JSON server today. I'll not waste time going deep into the details. My focus is on getting CRUD operations done as quickly as possible. And I'm saying this because this is an interview question. On 1st November 2021, I was giving an interview for the role of React developer and I was given this assignment. I was given an assignment to create an address book in React and to perform CRUD, all the CRUD operations. By CRUD, as we know, it means create, read, update, and delete. So all these four operations I had to perform on the address book using JSON server specifically. So there is one thing called JSON placeholder also, but they mentioned JSON server specifically. So we'll be using that only, and the time duration was around 50 minutes. So we'll be real quick. So let me give you a quick history. I'm sorry for repeating myself. JSON server is a node module which you can install in your project locally. Locally you can install to mimic the REST API thing. Okay, it's like having a REST API, a ready-made REST API which is already running in your local. So you don't have to focus on the REST API code. It's already there for you. So you can run it locally and focus on the application code. So without wasting any time, first step number one, create a React application, a new fresh React application. Then we'll install JSON server into that application and start running it on a port. The JSON server will run on a port. There is a specific port. I mean, you can specify the port number and you can run it on that in parallel. Then you can write the application code, complete the logic, and then you can run the React application on usually npm start on localhost 3000. Okay, and both the servers have to be running at the same time. So a new terminal, I'll go into the documents and then here I'll create our very own command, create React app. I'll call it my book. Hit enter. App has been created. Let's navigate into the application code, my book, and yeah. So let's go to the npm page of JSON server. Here it says get a full fake REST API with zero coding in less than 30 seconds. Seriously, that's what they say. And yeah, it works. Just copy this command npm JSON server. We'll go back to the terminal, open this here and just minimize this thing. Paste the command npm install JSON server. Let's open the package JSON and make sure it is installed here. And yes, we got it. So along with JSON server, we also need one more package called Axios. Okay, Axios, it's a promise based it's a client of HTTP which is promise based and it's used for browser and Node.js thing. So we'll use this for making our create, read, and update and delete operations. Axios we need, and anything which is above I would like to call 0.24.0, and we would also need Bootstrap just to make our app look better. I would ask anything which is 4.611, and then one last thing we need is React strap. I'm just adding these dependencies so that if we want to use anything from outside outside what React already provides us, so that we can use. And I would like to install anything which is above 9.0.0. Okay, after this let's run npm install once more. Done. We'll close this, and now I'm going to run our server. Okay, the JSON server I'm going to run, not the JSON server. Yeah, so JSON server. So the command is like this, and notice one thing: as soon as I run our JSON server, one file called db.json will be created over here. Okay, let me first run that JSON server. The command is JSON server. I'll paste these commands into the description below, or in fact I'll upload the entire repository on GitHub, then you can take it from there also. JSON server hyphen watch, and the file name is db.json. This file will be created here, and then as I said, I would like to run it on a specific port. In my case, I'm running it on 4000. You can choose any port of your choice. Let's run it, and this has been created here, db.json. So these are some sample files, sample records that you have: posts, comments, and profile. And just to see if the server is running perfectly alright or not, you can go back to you can use Postman also, but I'm using normal browser window, browser address bar, type 4000 and then just say post. Was it post or posts? I think it was posts. And yes, we are getting it. Similarly, we can get comments also. Yeah, we are getting the data. So the server is up and running. Now what I want is, I don't want to use these things. I want to create a database of my own. Since we are creating an address book, I want to call it records of all the addresses. Okay, like this. It will be an array of objects. What I'm doing? Yeah, it will be an array of objects. First object, similarly second object, similarly third, fourth, and so on. So the first object will contain, let's add some dummy data. First field will be ID, of course, this is required, mandatory, ID1. Okay, what else we have? First name will have John. Okay guys, I just don't want to waste your time. Let me complete this, I'll come back to you. Okay, so I've completed this data over here, some dummy data: ID, first name, last name, description, and the address. Let's quickly go back to the browser and see if records, if this endpoint is working or not. Records, hit enter. There's a spelling mistake. Yeah, we are getting the data. So that means our server is up and running and it's working fine, as it is, as it should. Okay, now what else? Yeah, so quickly we'll create the component. So in React we have a convention of creating containers and components. So the components which are plain and not manipulating the states are kept in the components folder, while the components which are directly engaged with manipulating the state of the application are kept in the containers folder. So right now I'm going to create the containers folder, because we'll create a dashboard thing and we'll be updating the state of the application. So new folder I'll go and I'll say containers. Inside containers I'm going to create one more folder called dashboard, and inside dashboard folder I'll create the file called dashboard.js, and one more file will create dashboard.css. We may not need this file, but let's create it, we'll see. It's going to be a class component, class dashboard, not expect, import component from where? From React we need, and here what we'll do, extends component, and I'll create one constructor. I'll pass props, I'll call super, I'll pass props. Why I give this? Okay, and this dot state I'm going to add, let it be like this for now. Let's see what else we need. Then we need a render method. So keeping in mind the 50 minutes time that we have been allotted, I'm just typing it quickly and I'm not going into the details. Return. what do we want to return? Let's say div, and we will add something here. So state first name, id will not change, first name, and let it be blank. Last name, let it be blank. First name, last name. What else we have? Email. We have email. Let's check. First name, last name, description, and address. Blank. These are the initial values of the state. Initial values of these variables. I'm setting it to blank. And what was the last one? Address. Okay, done. Now I'll quickly create one form. Okay, so the first thing, shall we create a form? No. First, let's see if we are getting the data or not. So I'll use a life cycle hook called component did mount. Component did mount. Okay, and I'll before making the get request or read request, I have to import Axios from Axios. Okay, Axios we need component did mount. And guys, this is in my country, this is Diwali time here, so you might hear some fireworks in the background, but that's okay. I think that's completely normal in my country. http and where we want to make the request is localhost 4000. Okay, and records, we'll read it from here. Then result, and we want to store the result in set state. So along with all these things, I need one array called records, and I'll initialize it with an empty array so that we can use it here. We can populate it here. What I'm doing, this dot set state records, and the records will be result dot data. Okay, result dot data. Okay, up till here we have done. Now we'll create the form. We'll come back to this method later. We'll come back to this, but first let's create a form. And the first thing that I would like to do here is turn the autocomplete off. I really hate this feature. Submit methods and all we'll add, but first we need some what do we need? Let's add some label. Label we'll add, and we'll call it first name. I'm just creating the fields. Then the input field, obviously the type will be of type text. Okay, what else we need? Let's make it required, and value will set. Okay, we'll leave out the value first. Name attribute, let's add. Name, what's wrong with my keyboard? Okay, name, first name, like this, save it. And yeah, I forgot to export default dashboard, and in the I'll go to the app.js. I'll remove this unwanted code, and there will be only one tag here, that is our dashboard. Okay, and I think it should be, yes, it is automatically imported. And guys, I think we need one more thing. Where is my index.js? Yeah, here. Since we have installed Bootstrap, I'll import Bootstrap. From Bootstrap, actually I need this test CSS and Bootstrap min.css I'm looking for. CSS, why it's not showing? And you have bootstrap.min.css. We'll add semicolon. Done. Close this file. Okay, this being done. Now we'll run the application. Server is running. Let it run in parallel. I'll open another terminal here and I'll do npm start. And yes, I'm getting this. Okay, that is good. Okay, I'll add one value here. Value this dot state dot first name. Okay, this thing will leave. Now see what will happen if I go back. See, now I'm typing, I'm pressing the keyboard, but it's not allowing me to type anything. That's because I did not add on change handler. I mean this guy here, on change, and I'll call one method called, first we'll have to create that method, handle first name. We can call the event, and what we'll do, this dot set state, and I'll simply pass first name. I'll set it to not this, I'll call it event dot target that value. Done. I'll call this method over here, this dot handle first name. Let's see. Yeah, I'm able to type. And just one last thing that I want to confirm is, I'll log it here, this dot state dot first name. I just want to see whether it's capturing all the changes or not. I'll go to the console quickly. What it is saying, okay, let it be, we'll fix them later. So see, on the console we can see the values, so it's working fine. Refresh the code. Now what we have to do for all, what happened, okay, we'll look into that. So now what's remaining is we have to add similar. So first, right now we have added it for first name. Similarly, we'll add for the remaining 4 properties. So here I'll pause the video, I'll stop the recording, let me complete the code, I'll come back to you. Okay guys, so I have created all the methods, all the required methods. So we created this together, right? First name. Okay, similarly I have added it for last name, one input field for last name, one for description, one for the address, and the, yeah, so value we are changing. It was first name, here last name, description, address. And similarly the change handler we are also calling it individually. We have individual change handlers for first name, last name, description and address, and we are calling them here. And we have, see, I have declared those methods here, and that is working fine. If I go back to the browser, let me cross check. What is being updated? Something is wrong. I think I am updating the same property again. Yeah, that's why it's happening. Handle first name, so this has to be last name, this has to be description. No. then we have address. Save the code. Let's go back to the browser and check. Yeah, things are working fine. Just one more thing I forgot to add is a placeholder. This isn't required, just to give our form a better look. We are adding this. You can just skip this part. It's not mandatory. Last name, description, and then the address. Done. Close the console. Okay, and this method here, what I was talking about, this is for, this will perform read operation. Okay, this will perform the read operation. This being done, form has been created. Now button has to be added. Type is equals to, call it submit. Type is submit. Class name is equals to, the bootstrap class I'm using, btn, call it primary. What else? btn small, and the value that I want is add. Close the input tag. Let's go back to the browser, and yes, it is added here, and these fields are required. Okay, this form doesn't look very good right now, but our main purpose is to write the CRUD operation code, not to create a form. So just leave it like that. I'm not going to add more fancy class there. Let it be like that. Now in the form, I'm going to add a submit functionality, and also I would like two things to happen here. First thing that I want is that I don't want this form to be refreshed after I press the enter button. I don't want it to be refreshed, and also I want this form to be submitted on press of enter key. So for that, what we'll do is, first we'll call the on submit. This has to be curly braces, yeah, curly braces, and fat arrow method. I want to call this dot, not history, this dot add record. Okay, right now there is no such method. I'll create it. Let's pass event add record. I'll add it now. Event okay, here I'll add the code, and this will perform the create operation. Okay, so the second thing that I said, that I don't want this form to get refreshed, so that what I'll do is, I'll call a method event dot prevent default. This will prevent all the default properties of a form. Okay, now what we need is axis dot post and this method will take two parameters. First is the URL and second is the object that you want to post. Okay, so the URL will remain the same. If I can copy paste it from here, because the URL is not going to change. This is the URL and the object is this first name, which we have already in the state. This is state dot first name, and similarly for other properties as well. We have first name, we have the last name, we have the description, and then we have the address. Address, what's happening? Okay, after that we'll call, then going to call a callback function here, and I'll call it this dot component did mount. I'll call this method, and with this I also want to, okay, let's not console log there, just keep it like that. Okay, let's go back to the browser and see how it works. So till now we have only two records. Now I'm going to add mine. It's me only. Address is some address, let's say address add, and see if it is added there, and yes, my name is also added. Okay, that is also been added there. Okay, now so we have completed two operations. Read operation we have done, not really, but yeah, because we have to show it on render on the front end also, but we have added the functionality for read, and we have done the create operation also. Let's now quickly add the code to display all the details on the front end. So what I'll do here is I'll add a table. No, first I want to give an HR horizontal line. From here I'll do. Okay, so I'm just going to create a very basic HTML table and nothing more than that, no fancy things. And yeah, we may apply some class name, some bootstrap we can apply, that's for sure. Table border, table with the border. Okay, and text I want to be on the center. Table striped, or what's the property name? Yeah, I think that's correct, table striped. And then our rest of the code will go here. One head we need. I want to show the first name only. First name, last name, guys. I think this will take a while. Let me complete this code, I'll come back to you. Okay, I've completed that. So nothing extra, no fancy thing, no rocket science, simple table headings, and then I'm going to write the body. Okay, first name, last name, description, address. Now to show that body, that all that information we are reading from the component did mount, and we are storing in records. here in the state there is a state, and inside state we have a property called records. And when we are calling a life cycle hook component in mount, we are populating this thing records here with the result dot data. Whatever result is written from here, from this get, it is stored in the records here. So we can use the same thing, the same property we can use to iterate this dot state dot records dot map. Okay, go like this, record, and we'll call the index also. Okay, now the key. Now what we'll do is just a second, table row, dd, and then record dot first name, similarly for last name, description and address. Description and the not add record address. Okay, let's see if it is displayed there. Unable to read the data. Why? There is a warning unique key that we can fix, but why data is not being called, that I want to see. Okay, let's log something here. No, this dot state dot record. Let's see. Okay, and the one which is complaining about is this. Index. There's a separate video for that, I'll let you know. Okay, we are not getting that warning, but the length is still 0. Why the length is 0? It should not be 0. Let me see. Okay guys, I put some console log here also, and I'm getting the correct data. Data is correct. Let's look into the here also I'm getting correct data. In fact, till here also I'm getting correct data. John Rebecca Tanzil. Something. Okay, I think I got it. Guys. So the problem is this braces. This has to be round brackets, not the curly braces. Let's try now. And yes, it's working. Let's just refresh the page, and no warning, no error, and it's working. Let me now just add one more thing. Let's say Vijay Kumar add, and yes, it is added, and we can see the data here also. Okay, let's add one more. Crossroad, let's add, and yes, it is being added here. So today we saw, let's remove the console logs, it's not required anymore. A better option is to use the debugger tool, but for now I think this was more simple. So today we have seen the read operation and the create operation. In the next video we'll see how to update and how to delete. Okay guys, so this is the part 2 of the video. Today we'll see how to delete the record. So this is our code. So here also I'll just add one more column and I'll call it delete. I'll call a button, very simple button I'll call, and I want to invoke a method on click. E and the fat arrow method. This dot delete record. This method does not exist right now. I haven't created, but I'll create it soon. And then the record.id. Because why record.id? Because we want to delete one particular record only, right? Using the id thing and not everything. So we'll pass the id also, that which record with what id we have to delete. Let's give the class name also so that it looks good. Done. Now let's add the method also. So this is going to be our method. Add record. Similarly it will be delete record. Event. Along with event we are getting the id also. So same axis we'll use. So same axis we'll use. Axis dot delete method we'll call, and again we'll pass the same URL. Okay, in the endpoint we have passed, and along with the endpoint we'll have to pass the id as well. So here itself I'll do this. And then the $sign, and inside that I'll pass the id, but it has to be this tilde sign now. Then what we'll do, we'll pass a callback method, and I'll again call that component did mount, so that we see the refreshed record. Delete record has been called. Now let's go back to the code and see how it works. Okay, I got it. I forgot to add the delete method, delete text here. Delete. Let's go back to this thing now. Okay, now let's see, I want to remove this Tanzil here. Delete, yeah, and it's being deleted also. Okay, see, it's being deleted. So now we can add also. See, it's being added also, and then we can delete it also. So that's how it works. So in the next part, so till now we have seen, let's sum it up. Till now we have seen create, update and delete, and this will perform, let me just comment it, will perform delete operation. Okay, in the next part we'll see how to update a record. So that will be very simple, that also we'll see. Hello guys, this is the part 3 of the same video. Today we'll add, till now we have seen create, read and delete operation. Today we'll see the update operation. So here also, up till here we have done. Now in body, similarly, just like we have this delete thing, now we'll add one more method, one more button I'll add, and I'll call it update the record. This method I haven't created yet, let it be like that. E and then the record id, because one particular record we have to do. I'll call it success, and this we have to call update. Okay, now I'm going to create one update record. And one more thing I would like to mention, okay, I'll let you know. we have to add one property into the state. I'll tell you how to do it. Update record. The same syntax we'll use. Event and the ID. So before I'll go back to the form. Let's say we have to update this record here. Okay, Veena. So first, when I click this update button will come here. So when I click update, I want this information, first name, last name, description, and rest, to be added here first. Okay, then we'll override these values from the form itself, and then we'll press update. Then it will be updated, and then this this button will also show update. Instead of add, it will show update. So this much we have to do. Okay, I'll use the same Axios thing, Axios.get. So first let's get everything. And then the URL will remain the same. I'm using this syntax, I mean with the tilde, because we have to get it for a particular ID. After doing get, then result, then I'll do the this dot set state. Okay, first name, result dot data dot first name. Similarly for last name also we'll do. Just copy paste it. Oops. Description, address, then the address. Okay, let's see, I'm getting the update also, and if I press update, I just want to see whether I'm getting this much data here on the form back or not. I'll just press update and see I'm getting it. Okay, now we'll write the functionality to actually send this updated data to the server. Let's see this also. Yeah, see, it's working. Done. This will not actually update, but this will actually will get data of an specific record and show it on table fields. Okay, it will not actually update, it will fetch all the data from there for a particular record and start displaying it on your form fields. Now we'll write the actual code for updating. So one thing that we want to change is here I would like to add one condition. So when we are going to add a new record, the button should show add, and if we are going to add if we are going to update a record, then that should display add. So that functionality I want to do. Okay, for that I'll go back to this method value add. Here we'll have to make some changes. Okay, here I'll make some changes. So what I'll do here is type is submit, that is okay. Class will apply on condition. Okay, first let me remove all these things. We'll apply this on and this will be condition based. So class name will be now like this. If this dot state dot id, if it is 0, that means then we'll have to apply button primary, otherwise we'll apply to give some space. Success. And the value will also be condition based. This dot state dot id. Right now, mind it that right now our state doesn't contain this variable, this property id. We'll have to add it. So if it is 0, we'll say add, or else we'll say update. Okay, the id, what I'm going to do here is I'll add one more id and I'll set it to 0. Okay, this thing we have added here. And one more thing before we proceed, guys. I have noticed one thing. Why my id is like this, id1. How it became same, I don't know. This should not be the case. I manually made it 2. Hope it will be fine. Let me refresh and see. Okay, let me update this. Now this is coming here, but that did not change. My question is why? Because if it is 0, then we have to show add. If it is 0, as we can see, then it has to be button primary, and then we have to show add. Okay, so that's what we are getting right now. So we have to find out a way to actually change that to something else. So here what we'll do, along with setting all the other states, what we'll do, id also will change to result dot data dot id, we'll say. So that if the id in the state, I'll tell you what's happening here. So initially the id is 0. Okay, when we pressed update, the id got fetched, everything got fetched from that particular record, and the id also got changed. Okay, let's say I clicked it for this guy, Rebecca Jordan, this lady I did. So in the database her id is 2, which becomes non-zero. So this condition will get triggered and will get button success and will get update. Okay, let me press Control save and see if it works. So I press update and see that is working. So this is what I wanted to achieve. Okay, so initially it is add only, but when we press this update, the button changes and we get the data. So this is what I wanted to do. Now we'll add the actual code for updating. I think we can do it here itself. Okay, we can add a condition here itself. We'll perform create and update, both it will do. Update operation, this will stay there. Okay, I'll give some space here. So this is also now condition based. If this dot state dot, it's a very simple logic. If this is 0, that means we are going to add it for the first time, then we'll apply this change. Okay, I'll just copy paste it there. Else if it is non-zero, then what we'll do, now we'll write the actual code for updating, and then we'll use axis.put. For updating we use put, and yes, the URL will go here also like this. And since we are doing it for a specific ID, so we'll be using this tilde sign, not the inverted comma. Okay, slash and the ID thing. Okay, but from where we'll get this ID, that we have to take it from here, call it ID, and if I'm doing it here, then I'll have to do it here also. The second occurrence is this. not there. We need to add it in the update record. Okay, the ID has already been updated. We don't need to add it. We don't need to add any ID. Okay, so all we need to do is go back there, and instead of, so which this ID has already been updated, we'll do the state.id. Okay, because this state.id has already been updated when we called update record. See here in the set state. So we don't have to pass it like that. ID we have passed. Okay, this being done, I'll call the method, I mean the object that we want to pass, and the object is same actually, so we'll just copy it from here and paste it. And then the remaining part also let's copy. Done. Save the code, remove extra spaces. Okay, here I'll say actual update functionality is here. Save the code. Let's go back to the browser. This is how we are getting it. Now I'll press update. We are getting it. I'll call it Meenakshi Jordan. She's my boss. Click on update, and yes, it's been updated. See, Meenakshi Jordan, she's my boss. This thing. And if you want to delete, it will get deleted also. So that's how it worked. So today we saw all the 4 operations: create, read, update and delete. So this was an interview question, that's why I tried to be quick and I didn't go into the details, but this is how it is done. So just quickly sum it up. So we created one container, and inside container we created dashboard.js. Right now we are controlling everything from one component. This is not recommended. The component, our application has to be modularized. This is not recommended at any cost, but since you have only 50 minutes, you have to get the assignment done, and for a small application you can go with this approach. So that's how we are doing it. Okay, and I'll upload this project on the GitHub very soon. I'll add the GitHub repo in the repo link in the description below. I hope this was useful, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much. Bye.